Hi, I'm Rita. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Life Worth Reading. We have somehow reached the end of the year, which means that it's time to look back into the things that I said that I was going to do in 2023. We're going to see my reading goals that I had set up and the 12 books that I was supposed to have read this year to see how well or how badly I did. Pretty much this video is all about shaming me for what I set up myself up to do and that I didn't do during basically all of 2023. So without further ado, let's just get into it. To prepare for this video, I looked back at the video that I posted earlier in the year or at the end of last year to see what reading goals I had set up. I had to set up 6 reading goals and 12 books to read, and now we're just going to look back and see how I did. I did not do great. Just a spoiler, just a warning, I did very terribly. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Now, the first goal that I had set up for 2023 was actually one of the only ones that I was successful at, which was to read more library books. I rediscovered my love for libraries in 2022 and I wanted to continue that streak this year, and I did that. I absolutely did that. 50%, like between 50 or 51% of the books that I read this year were from my library, which is a lot. I read 25, 26 books from my library, and I had a great time doing that. I love going to the library. I love picking out books, and I thought that this was a great reading goal to have. But actually, not so much now, because this was a reading goal that I had set up before I got lost this year and I just started piling books on my physical TBR and purchasing books. So now that I have so many books on my physical TBR to read, it is not a good reading goal, and I don't think I will keep doing that in 2024. But that's for another video, right? But the thing is that I did manage this goal. I read a lot of library books in 2023, so I absolutely achieved that. Good for me. We started out well, and it's about to go downhill from here. The second reading goal that I had set up was to read more on my Kindle that I got for my birthday last year, and this did not go great for me. I ended up not reading a lot on my Kindle because I just was really on a physical book thing this year. I think that like more than 80% of my reading this year was done physically, whether through my physical TBR or my library. I did not read a lot of ebooks. I did not read a lot of audiobooks, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So reading on my Kindle kind of stepped back, but I really do want to keep doing that. I love my Kindle. It's not because I don't love it that I'm not reading on it. It's just that I was on a little bit of a physical book kick this year, but I definitely do want to keep reading more on my Kindle. Next year I have a lot of great books on there that I haven't read yet, and so unfortunately I didn't really achieve this goal, but I just didn't read ebooks overall. So unfortunately I did not really do this successfully. And that also goes for goal number 3, which was to listen to more audiobooks. I absolutely fell off with my audiobook listening this year. I was not feeling it at all. Only like 10% of my reading, like 5 books, were audiobooks this year. I just was not really feeling it. At the start of the year, I was still on my audiobook thing, but then I don't know, I just stopped. I go through phases with audiobooks, and I just was not really feeling them at all. And then I also gave up script for a little bit because I wanted to focus on my physical TBR and on my library books, and I didn't feel like paying monthly because I wasn't reading as much. And that was the way that I listened through audiobooks previously. So the fact that I gave up my subscription meant that I no longer had access to audiobooks, and so that also obviously contributed to me not listening to any more audiobooks. So I haven't listened to one since like April or March, and I do want to get back into it next year. I do want to start up my subscription to Scribd again because I do love Scribd. It's really not the service isn't worth it kind of thing. It's just that, yeah, I wasn't reading for a lot of months this year, and so it just didn't feel worth it to pay for something that I would not use. But I do want to start up again next year. Goal number 4 is perhaps the most embarrassing one. I said that I was going to read 100 books. What was I thinking? Honestly, I have never read 100 books in a year. I don't know what I was thinking. I was on my 2023 is going to be my year. Ridiculous, embarrassing. I did not read 100 books. I am currently on 51 books, and clearly I'm not going any further than that, at least not significantly. So yeah, I only read like 50% of the books that I set out to read, which is, it's embarrassing, but it was just not a good year for me, okay? And I know the number of books you read doesn't count, I know, but I do like setting up goals. I do like trying to achieve them, and so this is kind of embarrassing for me. But yeah, I did not achieve this goal at all. Next year I am definitely lowering the number. I don't care. I am lowering my goals. Like I am not going through this again. Now, goal number 5 is where things get really, really, really bad for me, because I said that I was going to read 50% of my physical TBR. Guys, the physical TBR that I had at the start of this reading year is definitely not the physical TBR that I'm ending on. I have so many new books, gift cards, secondhand books, which I buy a lot of to save up money. It's just like, it's bad for me. It's really, really bad for me. So I absolutely did not achieve this. I read 11 books in this 51s, which amounts for 22% of my reading this year. And clearly that is not enough. That is clearly not enough. I need to do way better in 2024. Like, that's not a goal. That's a promise that I need to have with myself. Like, it's bad for me. And I also need to stop buying books. But if I'm reading the books that I'm buying, then that's not a problem. So all of this to say that it's bad for me. That's all that I gotta say. It's really bad for me. I did not read 50% of my physical TBR. I added significantly to my physical TBR, and I'm going to do earlier in the year, I'm going to do like a physical TBR update just to see how we're doing, because it's really, really bad for me. But we're going to see how I'm doing. But yeah, this year was terrible in terms of that. It was a year that I bought the most books, but it was also the year where I read the least books. So it's very yeah, it's not great. No, I failed miserably. But next year will be different. I swear, I promise, next year will be different, because it just has to be. It just has to be. I don't want to be one of those people that just accumulates books. I want to read the books that I have. So that's what we are going to do. Yeah. And my final goal was to be better at tracking my books, which I can definitely say that I did. I definitely can say that I did. Last year I had a real big problem with like tracking DNFs and whether I counted them or not towards my Goodreads goal. So like on Goodreads I had a different number than I had on my reading journal. It was just like a big mess, and it really messed with me. I did not want to go through that this year, so I was definitely really better at tracking my books in my reading journal. I didn't do monthly spreads every single month because when I was reading, I just wasn't feeling like doing a whole spread for my reading journal. But at the start of it, like on my book tracker, I definitely did that. I tracked my books way better than I did last year, and it's something that I do want to continue on with for next year, because it really helped me to see what books I was reading, what books I was DNFing, at what percentage I was DNFing them. And so that really helped me out, and I am proud to say that I did achieve this one, which was very low maintenance, but still. So if you're also keeping track, we are kind of, yeah, I only achieved 2 of the 6 goals, which is not great. Not great, but yeah, you know what? I'm going to be more conscious at setting up goals for next year. I don't even know if I'm going to do a video on that, but if I do, I'm going to be very much more realistic with my reading goals, having seen how this year actually did turn out for me. So yeah, 2 of my reading goals I did achieve. The other 4, it's absolute crickets. Absolute crickets. And now onto the other really embarrassing part of this video. I'm going to talk you through the 12 books that I said that I was going to read this year. And we're just going to see how well I did. You guys aren't ready for this. Like, you really aren't ready for this. So, the first book that I said that I was going to read was Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson, which I had on my physical TBR. I have since unhauled it. I DNF'd this book. I tried it. I gave it a try. I did not like it. I DNF'd it. I unhauled it. It's out of my life. But yeah, that one I did read, so good for me. And then I did not read anymore. I read 1 out of the 12 books. But anyway, let's go through the list, shall we? Next up, a book that I have on my physical TBR, Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. Haven't read it. Have not read it. Just Kids by Patti Smith. I would love to have read this, but I took this with me to New York. I thought that I was going to read books. I did not read a single page on the trip. What was I thinking? Trips, high maintenance trips like that are not for reading and relaxing. I should have known that. I should have known better. But yeah, I still really need to read that book. Marriage Portrait by Megan O'Farrell. I didn't have this book on my physical TBR. I do now. It's a recent edition. I bought it like a month ago, so it's not that bad. But I do need to get to it now that I own it physically. Number 5, Notes on an Execution by Dania. I wrote Dania K. Dania K. I don't remember the last name of this author. I haven't read it yet. The Bullet That Missed by Richard Osman. I think that I'm going to try to read this before the year ends. I have it on my Kindle. I'm really excited to read this one because The Last Level to Die just came out and I do want to continue on with the series. So I'm going to be making a real effort to still read this year. Then we have The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which I don't know if I still want to read this one because people say that only the first one is good and then I'll be starting a series and the rest of the series may not be worth it. So I'm still thinking about whether or not I'm going to read this one. Then 8, another book on my physical TBR, Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, also a 5-star prediction of mine. Number 9, Bloodmark by Tracy Dion. Bloodmark, basically I'm on the point where I need to reread Legendborn before I continue with the sequel, and I do want to buy Legendborn so I can reread it physically. And so that's why I haven't read Bloodmarked, because I do want to purchase both of the books and I haven't, and that's why I haven't read the sequel, because it's been too long and I need to reread it. I don't longer remember what happened there. Then number 10, Long Division by Keys Lemon. This was a book that was on Scribd. I no longer had Scribd, so this one was kind of out. 11 as well, We Spread by Ian Reid on Scribd. I no longer have Scribd. And then number 12, that's as well Honey and Spice by Bolu Babalula, a book that is on Scribd and I no longer had Scribd. So that's pretty much why I didn't read these last few books, but obviously there are other ones that are on my physical TBR that I should have read already. I didn't. I read one of the books and I actually DNF'd it, so I don't know how I could have failed this more. I read one book and it was a DNF. Like, do you get it? Like, it's bad for me. You get it. So, enough shaming me. I keep saying ever since I kind of did like my little comeback in September, 2023 was a little bit rough. Nothing significantly bad happened to me. It's not because of that. It was just a year with a lot of change and a year where I didn't get to prioritize reading for a lot of it. And it just was not a good reading year for me. And so all the goals that I had set out to do, all the books that I said I was going to read, just absolute crickets. And I'm just hoping that 2024 will be better. I don't know if it will be, but I'm hopeful that it will be, because 2024 will also be a year with a lot of changes, even more than this year, which is really, really scary. But I'm hoping that I will be able to do my best. You know, I'll be able to do my best. And I'm hoping that I don't fail so miserably. I don't even know if I'm going to do like 12 books to read, because it was just like, this is so bad. Like, I didn't read any of them basically. Oh my god. Listen, we're not going to talk about this anymore. You've had enough of me. I've had enough of me. So yeah, let me know if you'd still like to see a 12 books to read in 2024, or maybe a 10 books to read in 2024, because yeah. Do you want to see me fail, or should I just skip that entirely? In any case, thank you so much for watching this video. We have somehow reached the end of the year. There's still a lot of end of the year content to make. This is just like a little reflection on my reading year. And I hope that you enjoy it. And if you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. And I'll see you in my next video. I hope you have a nice day, and always remember that life is worth reading.